Tonight, the Capitol on edge. A man arrested for allegedly trying to enter a secure area with unauthorized credentials, a loaded gun, and 500 rounds of ammunition as extreme security measures ramp up in Washington and cities nationwide amid fears of more violence. The new investigation into how the Capitol was attacked and new arrests today, including this man who allegedly beat police with an American flag. Mass vaccination sites opening up, stadiums, and even Disneyland. One state promising to vaccinate an additional 1 million people by this weekend as anger over shortages boils over. The new warning about vaccine scams. How to know if you're signing up for the shot or getting ripped off. What Joe Biden will sign on day one. A mask mandate, ending the so-called Muslim ban, and a dozen more. Plus, the powerful moment this adopted son made his and his family's dreams come true.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. The country is on edge tonight. State capitals are in lockdown amid threats of more violence. Windows are boarded up, fences raised, and police and National Guard are on patrol. And Washington, D.C. resembles a military occupation. In the coming days, there will be 4 times as many troops there than in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. And tonight, we're learning of the arrest of an armed man near the Capitol. Our teams are spread out across the country, and we begin with Vaughn Hilliard in Washington.
Tonight, a possible threat at the Capitol. According to Capitol Police, a man tried to enter the secure area of Wednesday's inauguration in a pickup truck with, quote, unauthorized credentials. When police searched his vehicle, they found a loaded gun and 500 rounds of ammunition. The man, identified by police, was arrested and charged. The police did not comment on his possible intentions. It comes as the core of the nation's capital enters a near total lockdown, with more than 9,500 National Guardsmen now in D.C.
It looks like a war zone.
Empty streets as the district shuts down. This after the fatal law enforcement failures on January 6th. Federal authorities have now arrested more than 100 individuals accused of being involved in the insurrection, including Peter Stager of Arkansas.
Death is the only remedy for what's in that building.
Stager, according to the FBI, shown beating an officer with an American flag. And Jenna Ryan, a Texas real estate agent, charged after storming the Capitol, telling CBS News,
I was displaying my patriotism when I was there, and I was just protesting.
Authorities are still working to identify even more of the insurrectionists, including this man. In new photos released today, the FBI believes he is involved in this video, in which Officer Daniel Hodges is pinned into a door jamb.
They ripped my mask off, stole my equipment, beat me up, sprayed me with everything.
Multiple U.S. House committees today announcing a congressional review, writing in a letter to the FBI and Director of National Intelligence, quote, this still emerging story is one of apparent and high-level failures, in particular with respect to intelligence and security preparedness.
And Vaughn, we're learning new details about that man arrested for carrying a gun near the Capitol.
That's right. The man told authorities he was working in the area as private security. Jose?
Vaughn Hilliard in Washington, thank you. Across the country, there are real fears that there may be violence at state capitals this weekend, prompting extreme security measures on the ground, but also in the air. Blaine Alexander reports.
Tonight, in nearly every corner of the country, Capitol buildings barricaded, boarded up, and bracing for the worst.
Taking this very, very seriously.
The National Guard is at the ready, deployed to at least 13 state capitals, including Massachusetts and Ohio, where the state capitol is closed through Inauguration Day.
Here in Michigan, months after armed protesters stormed the Capitol, openly carrying firearms now banned inside the Capitol.
Here in Sacramento, 1,000 members of the National Guard have joined California Highway Patrol in forming a defensive barrier around the Capitol building.
At airports, the TSA is cracking down, upping the number of federal marshals on flights and adding more random gate screenings and canine teams. This as the FBI director urges anyone planning to cause trouble to stay at home.
We've got to disrupt any attempt or attack. Our posture is aggressive.
it's going to stay that way through the inauguration.
In Florida, authorities have already arrested a man for allegedly inciting violence against protesters in Tallahassee.
That makes the threat right here in our backyard, and we are prepared.
And in Georgia, a political lightning rod during the election, Governor Brian Kemp says the threat level is low, but he is taking no chances.
We are taking nothing for granted. I think you can see what happens when you do that, looking back to last week.
And Blaine joins us now from Atlanta. Blaine, how are officials there preparing?
Well, Jose, law enforcement officials are understandably hesitant to go into specific details, but here at the state capitol, you can already see the changes. In addition to these armored vehicles, we're seeing barricades like this on every side of the building, not just here at the Capitol, but at City Hall, just a few blocks away. The governor says that he is ready to deploy the National Guard if needed. Jose.
Blaine Alexander in Atlanta, thank you. To the COVID crisis, which is now taking the lives of nearly 4,000 Americans each day. The death toll is approaching 400,000, and the distribution of the vaccine can't keep up with the overwhelming demand. New mass vaccination sites are coming online to help get the shots out. Megan Fitzgerald reports from Los Angeles.
Tonight, from Dodger Stadium to Disneyland to Gillette Stadium in Boston, mass vaccination sites across the country are ramping up. After weeks of websites crashing and confusion on how and who can get vaccinated next, now a solution for people like Esperanza Maldonado.
12 family members got COVID-19. 2 of them were hospitalized for 3 weeks, so it was very real for me to be about to lose my sisters.
This site at Disneyland in Orange County, California, set up in just 1 week, hoping to inoculate 8,000 people a day by Monday. The issue? Supply. Do you have enough?
We have enough to certainly go through this week, and we expect to be able to have enough to do all of next week.
Come on up. California setting up more mass vaccination sites like this one after the bulk of the state's 2.8 million doses sat unused. The governor pledging to complete 1 million additional vaccinations by the end of the weekend.
If you don't want any doses going to waste, it becomes a much more challenging logistical operation than a traditional flu shot. And that's the burden we have now with the ultra and cold storage.
And this week, 30 million Americans become eligible for the shot as 18 states offer vaccinations to seniors 65 and older, putting pressure on a system already pushed to the brink.
It's mind-boggling that it wasn't better planned.
After another blow Friday, when the country learned the federal government never had the stockpile of vaccines states were counting on. Many governors angry, saying planned vaccinations are now in jeopardy.
I'm certainly demanding answers from the Trump administration. Their empty promises are literally playing with people's lives.
People like Anu Sharam, whose elderly parents live with her, eager for their shot of hope.
I'm always fearful of kind of bringing home something and giving it to them. I feel safer now.
And Megan joins us now from Dodger Stadium, which just opened up as a vaccination site. Megan, how many people do they hope to vaccinate there?
Jose, officials here tell us that by next week, they'll be able to vaccinate 12,000 people a day. Right now, they're still administering shots to frontline healthcare workers. Jose?
Megan Fitzgerald in Los Angeles, thank you. Increasing vaccine supply tops President-elect Joe Biden's ambitious plan to fight COVID. Sam Brock now with a reality check on how his plan could work and how quickly.
Operating with the mindset there's not a second to spare, President-elect Biden is aiming for 100 million vaccinated in 100 days.
Let me be clear. I'm convinced we can get it done.
His plan includes using the Defense Production Act to churn out supply, pushing states to vaccinate more groups, leveraging FEMA and the National Guard to build sites, and reaching marginalized communities. Let's start with the supply. How quickly can the Defense Production Act create more doses? Dr. Scott Gottlieb is the former FDA commissioner and currently sits on the board of Pfizer.
I think anything we do now to try to increase the supply probably is going to take weeks to a couple of months to have some kind of impact.
The answer to that question directly influences the next part of the plan, pushing states to reach a larger swath of people.
I mean, the Biden plan is a breath of fresh air.
Dr. Marcus Plesha represents state and local health departments and is optimistic, but also realistic. It could take weeks to get production to scale.
people over 65, people with medical conditions that put them at risk, people who are essential frontline workers. All of those people need to get the vaccine as soon as possible, but we can't give vaccine doses that we don't have.
And when it comes to reaching disadvantaged and often minority communities, the Biden plan includes more sites and an educational campaign. Plesha points out the issue of trust must be addressed.
We've got to be attentive to that. What states and locals can do is work with those communities. They have trusted relationships with organizations like faith-based communities where they can go and really try to help build people's confidence and really address some of the vaccine hesitancy that we're already starting to see.
And the National Guard and FEMA will lend federal muscle to add new locations for vaccination.
I think what they're going to do is try to expand the existing sites initially, and we could see the results of that pretty quickly. Getting new sites up and running, that could be a matter of weeks.
And Sam joins us from Miami. Sam, the Biden administration wants to distribute the vaccine through many different channels.
Yeah, look, Jose, the president-elect wants vaccines in pharmacies, big box stores, grocery stores. But right now, this park behind me in Miami has paused distribution for next week because they don't have enough doses. A game changer in all of this could be the approval of another vaccine like Johnson & Johnson, potentially in the coming weeks. Jose?
Sam Brock, thank you. President-elect Biden's team said today that on day one, he'll roll back some of the previous administration's most controversial decisions. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House. Kelly, what comes immediately after Wednesday's swearing in?
Well, Jose, they want a running start, and they put that on paper today. While Joe Biden and Kamala Harris introduced members of their science team at an event, Biden Chief of Staff Ron Klain released a memo outlining a 10-day schedule of actions, including executive orders. Some will reverse Trump policies, like ending the travel ban on mostly Muslim countries and rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. Others are steps about Biden promises. Immigration reform, followed by COVID actions, including a federal mask mandate. And on a very separate transition that happened today, Mike and Karen Pence made their last official trip visiting Navy aviators in Lemoore, California. Vice President Pence gave his farewell, mentioning President Trump only once, as he carried out the kind of duties you'd expect from the commander-in-chief in these final days. But President Trump remains out of sight. Jose?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House. Thank you. When we come back, the new COVID vaccine scams, how to protect your money and private health information. We're back with a new warning about alarming COVID vaccine scams, asking for your health and financial information and promising appointments for doses that simply don't exist. Jolene Kent reports.
In Sarasota, Florida, 88-year-old Jack Conway couldn't believe his luck.
I called my daughter after my excitement and said, I have tickets now for the vaccination.
He thought he signed himself and his wife up online for a vaccine appointment he found on Eventbrite, entering his personal information. But his eagle-eyed daughter stepped in.
And she said it's a scam. There's no date, no time, no place, just two names with their order numbers.
Conway is one of many Americans eligible for the vaccine and targeted by a growing number of scams through social media, email, phone calls, and texts. The Department of Health and Human Services says cases are rising, with scammers chasing your social security number, bank information, and medical identity.
Unfortunately, they've been very successful. What are some of the examples that you're seeing? We have had people say that they signed up for that vaccine trial. They gave their bank account information and that money was taken out of their bank account.
In Pasco County, Florida, Health Department official Mike Napier says nearly 200 people showed up at official vaccination sites with fake tickets.
People were very frustrated and thought they had their golden ticket, if you would, to get a vaccine, and we had to turn them away.
The problem? Some counties do use Eventbrite to organize legitimate vaccination appointments. 65-year-old retired nurse Meg Bourbonniere immediately reported one to her county health department.
I was really angry because people had been trying to take advantage of older adults and, who are especially vulnerable.
Eventbrite tells NBC News any unofficial event listings are likely a result of user error, but a team is looking into the suspected fraud cases, and anyone charged was refunded.
If you sense it may be a scam, what should you do? delete the email, don't click on the link, hang up the phone. It is that simple.
HHS also recommends always begin your vaccine search on your county health department's official website. And remember, you should never pay for a vaccine slot. Jolene Kent, NBC News.
Still to come, inside an NFL outbreak, our exclusive look at one team's efforts to stop the spread just hours before a playoff game. Plus, billion-dollar jackpot, the cash now up for grabs. We're back with a pair of jackpots now worth more than $1 billion combined. No one took the big prize in last night's Mega Millions drawing, now at a whopping $850 million. It's one of the largest jackpots in history, and tonight's Powerball is pretty good too. It's up to $640 million. Now to the NFL playoffs, where the Cleveland Browns had a surprising win over Pittsburgh last week, but it wasn't their only victory that day. They also had to contain a COVID outbreak as they prepared to take the field. It was a race against the clock to identify close contacts and contain the spread. Kevin Tibbles has an exclusive look at how they did it.
Cleveland Browns fans love to revel in their misery. No playoff wins in 26 years. But this season, a remarkable turnaround, beating their longtime rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, even as the pandemic took a heavy toll on the team.
That really started last week in earnest.
How did you react when you found out, and what happened as a result?
So that morning, when I woke up about 4:30, we had a plethora of positive results.
4 key players first tested positive.
We want to make sure now that does not spread throughout the team and affect anyone else.
Then head coach Kevin Stefanski was infected, and the virus spread. 4 assistant coaches all missed the big game after testing positive.
Put a good plan in place to kind of isolate, build a wall per se. We closed our facility for multiple days on end.
The Browns even had to train virtually, with the NFL's special tracing team activated.
Our contact tracing program are basically 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So we're being notified of test results at all hours of the day and the night. Make sure that they get isolated away from family or other household members.
25 guys in a room next door.
The Browns gave us a behind-the-scenes look at preps even before the season started.
We really have a new normal, right?
Ultraviolet lights in locker rooms to further sanitize.
Everyone in our building gets one of these devices.
So if someone tests positive,
we can find that person and all the close contacts to that person.
With last week's outbreak, the team's center, J.C. Tretter, watched as key members of the team got benched.
And whenever somebody gets sick, you worry about them. And then when it comes to having to go out there and perform without your leader and your head coach and other really talented players for your team, that's always a concern.
And with the Super Bowl on the horizon, no team wants COVID to keep them off the field.
Everybody involved wants to stay healthy, wants to stay there, and wants to experience the run to the Super Bowl.
And whoever wins this year will have beaten both their opponent and the pandemic. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News. When we come back, the emotional moment when one family's big dream comes true. There's good news tonight about the importance of love and family and how one young man found all he needed to reach higher and make his dreams come true. It was a blessing the Waynick family from South Carolina had hoped for. A letter announcing a remarkable achievement. The emotional moment caught on camera. The joy going viral. It's the minute Harold Waynick found out his grandson Nathan was accepted to the University of South Carolina and even offered a chance to play football there too.
When you read the letter, I saw you, Chris, went over to that young man, gave him one of those huge bear hugs. There were tears around every place.
I'm telling you what, it blew my mind. But that was the happiest moment of my life.
This is crazy to think about. I still think it's a dream.
A dream that once seemed out of reach. That's because Nathan had a rough start in life, spending time in and out of a children's home. In his loneliest days, football and faith kept Nathan going.
I kept hoping. I knew God was going to give me a plan to get out and find my family, forever family.
Nathan found his forever family at age 12. When Wendy and Trip Waynick brought him home to join their family.
Our
our goal was to help one person, and he turned out helping us a lot more.
We thought we were a content family of 5, and the good Lord made us a family of 6.
Nathan bonding with the Wainick family over their love of football.
He's a great athlete, but boy, he's got a heart as big as any human being there's ever been.
His passion on the playing field and character off it, catching the eye of South Carolina Gamecocks coach Shane Beamer.
I started doing my research and talking to his high school coaches, and the more I found out, the more I liked.
Coach Beamer offering Nathan a preferred walk-on spot on the team. Nathan achieving his dreams with his biggest fans cheering him on. What do they mean to you, Nathan?
They mean everything to me because I know they behind me through whatever I do.
Life is a marathon, and you have ups and downs. But when you got a family like we do, it's us. There's no I in team.
And Nathan plans to major in exercise science. I'd like to invite you to check out my digital series, American Dreaming, and my conversation with Grammy Award winner Gloria Estefan, who dreams big and lives in gratitude. It's at NBCnews.com/nightlyfilms and in the Nightly News podcast feed. I'm Jose Diaz-Balart. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and good night.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.